Oh my gosh, it's the moment you've been waiting for.
Oh my stars.
It's the top 100 games of all time, definitively, according to us, subjectively, objectively. Hit it!
Snick and Mud's top 100 games. But does anyone care what they have to say? Let's. I know I don't. Cause they may dab, they might scream, they may say some things that are plain wrong. Dab on it, dab on it. But they are dumb, dumb bing bongs. My teacher's better.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
We are the Brothers Murph, and that's right. This is going to be our top 100 games of all time, the 100 best games of all time.
Ever.
Broken up into 10 different videos. We do this every other year.
We do.
Last time we did it was in 2020, so we like to do it every other year because I like to see what changes. And honestly, there's a lot of new games on here, a lot of older games we played now. It's always fun to look back.
There's always a lot of changeover. And speaking of doing stuff different, we're actually doing something a little bit different with our
We
top
are.
100 because every time we've done it before, we've had a bunch of silly fake sponsorships and props and things like that.
Some ongoing joke that went through the whole 10 videos.
Yes, which is super duper fun. But this year we actually have an opportunity to talk about something that is really, really cool and helps kids. And that's better than any kind of joke.
Yes.
So we are actually kind of partnering up with Tabletop Alliance.
Yes, we are.
And what they do is they help get board games into the hands of kids. They help facilitate school programs and things. It's all about getting kids into board games.
Yeah, so teachers can sign up essentially as a program of this, and they will send usually kids games or family weight games to different schools, and just to get kids into board games and have them doing stuff, and it's just games are the best, right? And getting them into schools, it's such a cool program, and it's actually a place where you can donate your games. If you have games that you don't want anymore, you don't feel like selling them, you want to donate them somewhere, you can donate them to Tabletop Alliance. There'll be an address down in the description below, but also over on the right side of your screen, there should be a little donate button because we're going to be raising money throughout this entire top 100. You can donate games, but you can also just donate money.
Money is always great.
And money is nice because then they can just allocate it however they need to. Usually about every dollar, actually it's a little bit less than $1, they say helps one student. So if you can give $10, boom, you just help 10 students. Let's try and help as many students as we can. We're not gonna have some long, coldest water joke going through the whole thing. We're actually just gonna try and raise money for charity because we think it's really, really cool. And at the end of our top 100, we're gonna be culling a whole bunch of our games and we're gonna be giving them to Tabletop Alliance. So follow the link up here. There'll be a card for a video that has much, much more information about this.
Follow along and see what the total we've raised and stuff. We really hope to do a lot of good this year. So I think with that out of the way, it's time to rank some games, dude. Are you ready to commit? To your top 100?
Ooh, so exciting.
Let's do it. Let's start with number 100. Now I know a lot of people's questions are going to be,
what's
your 101th game?
Now usually we would say that right now.
What just missed the list?
We're actually going to put out our 100, 200 a little bit after we drop our 10 to 1 in a number of weeks here.
It's kind of a casual chat video.
Kind of a casual chat video, but it's actually going to be out on our Patreon a couple days earlier than it drops on YouTube. So make sure to check out our Patreon if you want to check that out. Plus, we're also going to have our 200 to 300 that's just for patrons over there. So check that out. That'll be coming out in a couple weeks over there. Super excited. But Mikey, do you want to go first or second?
I'm going first, man. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
I'm very excited.
I know. My number 100 game.
Trash game.
Could have been 91 higher to be perfect. My number 100 is number 9. My 100 is number 9. Do you get it? The game is called number 9, Nick, but it's my number 100.
It's a very who's on first situation.
Okay. So this is a game where it's a polyomino tile laying stacking game where you are going to be getting numbers 0 through 9. Everyone will play ultimately 2 of each of those 10 numbers, and you're going to draw out a card to say the 3, and everyone must place their 3 down, one of their 2 3s, okay? And you can put it on the ground and build up a nice base and stuff, and these are all kind of funky abstract versions of the numbers they represent. And the goal is ultimately to build a base that you can then start stacking tiles on top of. Now the rules, of course, is they can't overhang, they have to be completely supported beneath them, they have to be touching at least 2 tiles that are beneath them, but that's how you actually score points, because everything that's on the tabletop itself, everything that touches table is worth 0 points guaranteed.
Nothing.
Everything on the first level above that is worth its face value. So if you put a 7 on that first level, it's 7 points. If you get a base built up so enough that you go into the second level, everything is worth double points. So an 8 on the second level is 16 points. And you really are trying to build out this really rock solid base with really funky shapes. And the fun thing they do with this game is it's very trolly. You can't flip the tiles over.
No, you can't.
You can rotate them, but you cannot flip them. And it's always the case that if you could just flip the tile, it would be so perfect.
Fit perfectly.
And they say, never that.
Nope.
Niet. And it's just such a good, fun, abstract simple game. It's a perfect game. You got 20 minutes. Play number 9.
Yeah.
It goes down smooth. It's brain burning.
It's also a game where if you have multiple copies, you can play with an infinite amount of
Yeah.
people because you flip over a card and it says everyone has to place a 7. So everyone just has to do that. So if you have your own
We've
copy,
done like 60-person games.
yeah,
of
we can
this.
play over Zoom. It's really, really fun.
Yeah,
this one did not make my list.
It's such a good game. For me, it's like every time we play it, I'm sort of like surprised again by how much I like it.
it's really
so
good.
that's why I just eked into the list. It's just such a good kind of polyomino, and it's straight up, that's all you're doing. It's just polyomino shaped puzzle. Nothing else going on. Number 9, number 100 for me.
Boom, let's go. All right, my number 100 is Ticket to Ride Nordic Countries specifically, but really just Ticket to Ride.
Sure.
But we have Ticket to Ride Nordic Countries as our favorite version. It's Ticket to Ride. It's a very popular game. People know it. There's lots of different maps. There's like lots of different like smaller versions now. I mean, it's every year there's more Ticket to Ride stuff coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's great. So Ticket to Ride is a game where you are collecting these cards. They're going to have different colors of trains on them. And then you are collecting those cards and you have a bunch of different routes over some kind of map. Again, there's lots of different maps. This one is specifically the maps of Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland.
Scandinavia,
Which is our family's from Norway, so we really like it. It's also kind of Christmassy looking, which is nice.
Perfect.
But nonetheless, and so then you are turning in these cards because all the routes are different colors on the board. So if you turn in like 3 green cards, you can put your trains on a route that is 3 greens. And then you're basically trying to connect different cities. So if you have like Oslo and like Helsinki in Ticket to Ride Nordic Countries, you need to have an unbroken line of your trains from Oslo to Helsinki, and then you have completed that card. And so that's what you're trying to do. You're getting these cards, you're trying to complete these routes. There's a lot of blocking, getting in each other's ways, particularly in Ticket to Ride Nordic Countries, because this map is only for 2 to 3 players.
Yes.
Whereas the other games, a lot of the bigger ones, they're for 4 to 5. So if you're playing a 2-player game on the normal like US map, it's very, very open, which is still fun in its own right.
It's easy to kind of get done what you need to get done, and so it's fun to have a little more competition for space.
Because sometimes some places, there's one route going to this one city. So now if Mike takes that one, I then have to go all the way around to be able to get to that city again.
Which you might be able to do.
And it can get very hard, and it's very, very fun. I love Ticket to Ride. I think Ticket to Ride is one of those games that's going to be around forever, and I think rightfully so. It's simple. It works. I love it. Ticket to Ride Nordic Countries is our favorite version of it, and that is my number 100.
Good pick, man. Let's
Trash
get
games.
we're not getting good until like the 60s.
No, these are all great.
These are all they're garbage games.
Yeah.
That's number 100 for us. Let's get into number 99.
My number 99 is another kind of classic game, and that is Carcassonne.
Ooh, I'm a little surprised it's this low, to be honest.
I was kind of surprised as well. I'm not
Okay.
gonna lie. I was kind of surprised. Carcassonne is kind of like Ticket to Ride in that sense, where it's just one of those gateway games that pretty much most people who have played board games have played. It's gotten so many people into the hobby,
Oh, yeah.
and it is just very, very good. This is a game where you are building out Carcassonne kind of together, and you will, on your turn, grab a tile from one of the stacks there, and the tile will have a couple different things on it. Could have some roads, could have a bit of cities, could have a monastery, just some grass, that kind of stuff. And you are placing it on next to a tile that's already out there, and you have to make everything make sense. So you can't have a road going to the middle of a city. The city walls have to match up, and it's just one of those games, and that's what you're doing. And then you can place meeples down into cities that you just built part of, or onto roads, and then once you complete that city, which means the walls completely surround it, or the road is completely ended, you then can take that meeple back and you'll score points. And that's basically the game. That's most of it, and it's just so simple and so fun, and it's one of my favorite games to introduce people to. It's probably, I think it's not my favorite gateway game anymore. I think it's been overtaken by something else that'll come at some point in the list. I'm not sure where it is, but it's probably my favorite gateway game. At least it has been in the past, because it's just so easy, it's so simple, and it's something, and I think this is big with gateway games, it's something people haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Even like Ticket to Ride has a big board. People are used to seeing games with big boards. This game starts with one tile on the middle thing, and that's it. And then as it grows, it just builds and builds in all different ways every single game. And when you introduce this game to new people, a lot of times they're just like, whoa, this is wild, because they've just never...
Where's the game at?
They've never seen something like that.
Right.
They've never seen a board grow as the game goes. And it's just, that I think is how you hook people into board games, because we're all constantly trying to get people into board games. I think that's one of the best ways to do it. And I think Carcassonne is one of the best things to do it with. It's my number 99. I love it.
Good pick, man. My number 99 is a cozy game that we like to play around Christmas, a little a la Ticket to Ride Nordic Countries. This is Gingerbread House by Praise be Phil Walker Harding. Praise be to Phil.
He's going to show up multiple times.
Yeah, he will. So Gingerbread House is a kind of a domino style tile laying game. So
Yes.
it's by dominoes. I mean, there's two kind of distinct halves
On a little
of
rectangle.
each little rectangular tile that you place down. And what you're doing is you're building your house of gingerbread. And so what's kind of cool is you only have so much land, so you have a little 3x3 kind of grid that you must place these tiles into, and you can't exceed and go off of the edge there. And this game comes down to, now Phil Walker Harding does this quite a bit, where it comes down to what you place your tile on top of is
Yes.
what you get. Basically, what you cover up is what you receive. Oftentimes, you're going to get different types of icings for your gingerbread, and you're going to do that as resources to then hopefully capture fairy tale creatures. It's got a great art style to it.
Yeah, it's
where
very cartoony but fun.
and stuff, and
fairy-tale-y.
all sorts of characters like Rapunzel and a donkey that spits gold out, and all sorts of characters you're used to seeing from various fairy tales and things are coming up to the house, and then you are capturing them by turning in the right kinds of icings, which will score you points and things
They're
like
eating
that.
your house. It's fair to capture them.
A little revenge is fine amongst
Yeah.
people who are eating your house. You know, that's your number one thing is shelter, man. They're taking that away from you. It's
true.
So this game, what we really like about it is it comes down to like super combo-y stuff. Because if ever you're covering up two of the same icon, whether that be icings, there's also special actions that can come on these dominoes. If you ever get two of the same, you get a bonus third one of that thing.
Yeah.
And so this game can come down to, I'm gonna get these three icings, and then that's going to give me the right stuff to turn in to capture this character. Every time you capture a character, you get a little 1x1 wild tile, which you immediately put down, which might give you an action or give you some icing, which might give you then the icing to capture another fairy tale creature, and you grab another wild tile and you get to put that down, and that triggers this thing. And like the thing that we really enjoy, you play like 15 turns. You're gonna put 15 tiles down on your turn.
Yep.
And there's gonna be some point in the middle of that you pull off a just insane turn
a
where you
real
get all
bonkers
sorts of
turn.
stuff, and you get to lure in people, and you get to get some stairs to build up your gingerbread house higher.
Yeah.
And it's just immensely satisfying when you pull off that combo.
Yeah.
Especially if you ever get two wilds next to each other and you cover that up, you get 3 wild actions. You can do actions, get icing, anything you want. It's just really fun, really cutesy. We like to play this up at our mom has a cabin. We go up to the cabin and play it there. That's where we played it for the first time.
Yeah, that's right.
It has a lot of like good memories associated with it. It's a really fun little puzzle tile laying stacking game.
Yeah, it's
So
great.
Gingerbread House is mine, 99. Bill Walker Harding does really good puzzly fun games, and that's just one of them that's gonna be on this list.
All right, let's get number 98. What's number 98, Mikey?
My number 98 is Terraforming Mars. OG classic.
Oh, wow. It's not in my top 100.
It's low on my top 100, and you're going to see why. It's basically because Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition exists, and we both prefer that version. Terraforming Mars, though, is still super classic. I play it mostly digitally now if I'm going to play it. I'll happily play this at a con and stuff. Like Terraforming Mars
We
is...
still have it.
Of
Yeah,
course.
it's
It's
like-
an incredible engine-building game where you are literally rolling up on the red planet with nothing on it but dust and
red dust.
Mars stuff.
It's true.
And you are going to turn this into a habitable place for us to now live, I assume because we've destroyed the planet.
Yeah.
So in this game, it's all about building up various productions in money, which is, you know, like the source to all success, plant life and stuff to help terraform the planet and give it oxygen and turn in, you know, things into greenery tiles to facilitate life growing. You're trying to heat up the world.
very cold Mars,
You're trying to get to a nice balmy 4 degrees Celsius. So
Yeah.
not a hot place, but a warm enough place.
You can walk around, you know.
You're trying to get some ice melted to make oceans and things. You're trying to make it as Earth-like as possible. And you're going to facilitate that by mostly playing these green cards into play, which are typically going to increase your production in steel, titanium, plants, heat, money, things like that, energy. And then once you have some of these productions going, it comes down to using other card play, and you can also just use standard actions to then really do stuff to change the landscape of the planet and earn you a bunch of those points. Because every time you kind of increase one of the things that makes the planet habitable, you increase your terraform rating. You're getting like kudos. Oh, that's a very good job you've done there. Your corporation gets a bunch of kudos for helping, you know, save humanity and stuff like that. So this game is super fun because there's just a stack yay high of cards. There's so many fun things
We don't
to
even have
explore.
all of it either.
No, there's so
you
many
know.
synergies and things. The fact that you can increase production in so many areas, and that might give you a bunch of titanium, so you can start to get these space tag cards because you can use your titanium to help pay for those instead of money. There's a lot of fun things to do. There's these blue cards which give you special actions you can do. There's like 1,000,001 things that you can kind of explore. So it's like kind of a no-brainer that Terraforming Mars has absolutely been
Yeah, I mean,
one of the most played games at any convention or any game night to this day.
There's Ares Expedition, there's like the dice game, there's a whole bunch of different stuff for it. Yeah,
There's
I
a bunch
still
of
love
ways to play.
Terraforming Mars. I just prefer Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition.
Yeah.
So the thing is, and that's still mostly Terraforming Mars. I love Terraforming Mars. I just
The
like that one a
foundation
lot
is
better.
so strong.
Terraforming Mars, the base game, I'm not sure where it is, but it's not my top 100 anymore because I just prefer Ares Expedition.
You can be a little bit wrong, but it's on my 98. It's still there for now. Terraforming Mars. What you got for 98?
Okay, my number 98 is a game that we actually don't own. Most of the games on our list we own, but this is one that we don't. And this is a little drawing game called Pictomania. Pictomania is a great game that we only ever really played at cons, but every time we play it, I am just reminded about
perfect for that
just how good this game is. This game is brilliant where you are given a prompt, but no one else knows what your prompt is, and your prompt could be like...
It'll be from among a list of that are within a theme.
Kind of like a theme. So it'd be like, the theme might be like sports, and so you have like basketball or baseball or soccer or something like that, right? And then you're going to have to draw what it is. And so you basically are drawing what it is, and then you basically want to draw as quick as possible because once you are done, you will then be able to start guessing on what other people are drawing. But here's the thing.
As they're drawing.
As they're drawing it. Or even if they're done and they're guessing, you get to look at their stuff and be like, okay, I think that might be this. Okay, I think that might be this. And you're making guesses on what you think the people are going to be. And then, but here's the thing, is you want people to be able to guess yours. It's not, you don't want to be like vague. You get more points if people are able to guess yours.
You want to be fast but accurate.
Yes, you have to be fast and accurate. As fast so you can get out there and start guessing quicker. Because also if I guess Mike's before like Mary guesses Mike's, I'll get more points. You want to be first at guessing, but you need yours to be good enough to understand.
Yeah.
And that's a really fun dynamic.
Yeah.
And so that's already really, really fun, but the game is played over 3 rounds. And so the first round, you're doing like all the green options, which are like, again, very, very like baseball, basketball, where they're similar, but they're very different in terms of what they look like.
You can really delineate between the options.
And then you go to like the second round, and the things are a lot more similar. And then you go to the third round, and they get so similar. Where I'd be like bar, pub, tavern,
saloon,
and you're like, how do you differentiate between like a pub and a tavern? I'm sure there are ways to do it, but if you're trying to do it very quickly,
it becomes very hard.
How do you do that? And because the first round, everyone's kind of like, that was easy. Every single time we play the game,
and then it ramps up.
I'm like, that's right, this game is so easy. And then it ramps up so fast, and it becomes so enjoyable. That ramp up is just absolutely incredible. It's so much fun. Pictomania is great. It's a game that if I ever saw in a store, I'll just grab it. We keep not having it.
Yeah.
It's
we
so
really should get it.
much fun. It's the perfect kind of con game. I absolutely love it. I love some Pictomania. It's really, really good.
Yeah, it's gone over huge for us in the various times we played it at conventions. So shouts out to Dice Tower Conventions in general for making that possible.
That's when we've been playing it,
yeah.
All right, and that's our number 98.
Let's
get to number 97. Number 97 for me is a game that ultimately came out of another game originally, and this is Patchwork. Patchwork was actually derived, as far as we know, out of Feast for Odin, which has a polyomino tile laying kind of game. And then Patchwork, Uwe Rosenberg was like, I can make millions of dollars just selling this other game too. So he just did that.
I can make more money selling that than ever I could with Feast for Odin.
Isn't that crazy? And so basically Patchwork is a game where you have a board, a 9x9 board, and you are drafting these polyomino, essentially quilt scraps, and you're building out a quilt. You're building out a patchwork quilt. And so you're getting these scraps and you're putting them in your quilt. You're trying to fill in everything, but they're polyomino tiles, so they fit together in all these kind of weird, funky ways. But the cool thing about the game is on the tiles, there's going to be a cost and then a time cost.
Yes.
And basically, whenever you get a tile, you have to pay the price in buttons. Buttons are the currency.
Adorable.
It's very cute. And then you also have to pay the time, and you have this little time track. And then basically, whoever's farthest back on the time track, they're the ones who get to go. And so if Mike's 5 spaces ahead of me, and I take a patch that only moves me 2, I'm still behind. I get to go again.
Very nice.
And it's really, really fun. The economy with the buttons, you don't get very many, is really, really tight. So sometimes you have to pay, which will just move your marker in front of the person on the time track, and then you will then get buttons for every spot you moved. And it's this really tight, really hard game that just works so well. There's so many different iterations. There's like Halloween ones and Christmas ones and like
theme you can
American
imagine.
Ones and probably other country ones. It's like there's all these different ones. There's like Patchwork Express and Patchwork Doodle, which is like the roll ride version, which is also very, very good.
Yeah, we like it.
It's just really, really fun. It kind of, I feel like it was not the first polyomino tile game, but it really started the craze for polyomino tile games, which at least it seems like it was. And now there's so many.
Next level, and now it's a big piece of
now
our
I think it's a major major mechanic is polygonal tile games.
Because it adds a fun element. You have this thing and this thing. It's like, what if the shapes are weird and you have to figure out how to fit stuff in? It's always interesting.
Yeah, it just works so well. Patchwork is great. It's a 2-player only game, which is also cool, and it's just good. It's just really, really good, and that's why it's my number 7. 97, not 27.
Very good pick. Very good pick. My 97 is ultimately something that came out of a game as well. It is Rajas of the Ganges, the Dice Charmers.
I am flabbergasted this was not higher on your list.
Man, stuff just, who knows? Things get weird when you're ranking.
I'm blown away. I thought this would be your top 50 at the bare minimum.
It might go higher. It might go higher. I don't know. Rajas of the Ganges, the Dice Charmers is a roll and write version of its parent game, Rajas of the Ganges, which will also be in my top 100 spoilers.
Wow, spoilers.
This is a roll and write version that is super fun because, we talk about roll and writes into kind of different categories. We have roll and writes that are kind of their own whole thing, and then roll and writes that are re-implementations of existing board games.
Yes.
They take stuff from like Castles of Burgundy, the dice game, how do you take all the elements from Castles of Burgundy and put it into this dice rolling mechanism? This is of that ilk, where you are rolling out dice to basically dictate what actions you take. In a 2-player game, you'll take 2 actions. In other player counts, you'll take 1 per turn, per round. And you're going to choose a die, draft a die, and that might give you a character that you can use that has her own ability. That might give you a bit of a pathway to then draw out on your board as you're connecting these various buildings together to gain fame, which is also from the game. As you're laying out all these tiles and putting down buildings, you gain fame. In this version, you're trying to cross your money track and your fame track, just like in Rajas of the Ganges. And so it has all these flavors. You have the river, which is a central part of Rajas of the Ganges. You have that in the dice game. You have goods that you're acquiring and selling, just like in the parent game. And of course, you have the kind of tile laying, but now you're just drawing out these little routes.
Yeah.
And so it does a really great job of like giving you all that flavor of the game. But this one, because it's a roll and write and stuff, it infuses the game with 1,000,000,001 combos. You just get so many bonus actions and bonus things you get to do because you go over here and you connect to this one end of the path. That gives you a bonus of this one character, and this character right here gives you the ability to go 2 spaces back on the river. Oh my gosh, I go 2 spaces on the back on the river. That allows me to sell a good. Now I sell a good. Now I complete this area, which gives me this bonus action. I get to take a purple die, which gives me more goods. Like, again, if you'll notice a theme here for me. If I could do something where I chain off a bunch of combinations, I'm going to be immensely satisfied by that. And this game is just like ready and willing to give you every bonus and combo thing you could possibly imagine. It's the most combo-tastic game of all time. And that makes it very fun to play, but it gives me all that flavor of Rajas of the Ganges, which I really enjoy so much, all the things you're doing. And it has all that there in a really familiar way, but also a way that works a lot better for a roll and write specifically. They really did a good job. It's very different and very familiar, which is something that I really enjoy out of those types of roll and writes. So my number 97, Rajas of the Ganges, the Dice Charmers. I was super excited when I first heard about it. It absolutely delivered and more. I love it.
Yeah. All right, that's our number 97. Let's get number 96.
So my number 96 is a new game to the list. It's also a roll and write, and it's like the roll and write, the superest roll and write. It's Twilight Inscription.
When I was doing my list, I thought it didn't make my top 100. I thought this might though, because I kept ranking it higher and higher and higher, and I was like, man, I really, really liked. I'm assuming next time we do this, it'll probably be my top 100.
Go up, Twilight Inscription takes Twilight Imperium, 4th edition or all the editions, and turns it into an epic-sized roll and write, because it's an epic-sized board game. And so it has to be a big, long roll and write.
It really does.
It's a roll and write that'll take an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on your player count and AP and all that jazz. But Twilight Inscription is really fun because you have 4 whole sheets that are kind of the 4 areas of what you'd expect in Twilight Imperium. You sort of have like exploration of the stars,
navigation,
expansion, populating planets and stuff, warfare, of course, and kind of building up your industries. And on each turn, each round rather that you're working with your sheets, which is most of the events. The strategic events, you're going to choose one of your sheets to focus on. You're only going to be dealing with one sheet at a time. So I'm going to do warfare. I'm going to build some ships out and stuff and work on the strength that I have to go against my opponents to my left and my right. I'm going to go through and circle different star systems and things on the navigation side. And this one was really fun because I've never played Twilight Imperium. I hope to someday, but it's I know I'm kind of scared by its size and everything, but I've always been intrigued by sort of the world that that game inhabits. And this one has a bunch of nods to those characters, and the types of things that you'll see in Twilight Imperium are now brought into a roll and write form. But one thing I really appreciated is once we got underway with this one, it's not as crazy as you think.
It's not that complicated. It's
really not that complicated. It's just a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And it kind of ultimately comes down to circling some stuff to collect things, crossing things out to use things, and then again, I like combinations. You can start to work out really, there's tons of bonuses you can gain throughout this game. You kind of build up industry and stuff as you work down these various tracks. And I really love how you can chain together stuff. If you build it up kind of smart, you can spend this planet and you work on this planet over here and you're completing these goals and things. That triggers a bunch of bonus stuff, and you can get these special commodities which you can then use to unlock these really cool areas or get some dreadnoughts and stuff. So there's just a lot of like, ooh, I got this juicy
There's
little...
a lot to explore, yeah.
Ooh, now I got the focus dice. Now I can use the pink die and get even more stuff in this on this sheet, and like just really digging in to the different areas and trying to find all those little bonuses at the sort of end of the lines as you invest in areas is really fun.
Yeah, it's great.
It's really fun. It's set in a cool world. You have these sheets, you're using chalk markers, which are kind of messy and annoying, but also awesome because they're just like, they kind of glow and whatnot. And I'm like, this is rad, man. Like, I was so immensely satisfied by that game, and I like that it's this big epic roll and write, but it's not like overly crunchy for being crunchy's sake. By that I mean like overly complicated. It's not the most brain burning, but like if you play well and you're thinking about stuff, like you can do really well and use that time really well. So it's just fun to explore, and I just want to keep playing it. To be honest,
me too. I mean, it's really outstanding. It didn't make my list, but I was almost there, honestly. Our number 96 is just one of the greatest games that Will evangelized for, Crystal Dax always evangelized for. This is Strike. Strike is so good. Strike is amazing. Strike is a game that simulates a gladiator battle perfectly. It's just like being in the arena.
Prove me wrong. Go watch a gladiator battle these days and prove me wrong. Oh wait, you can't.
Nonetheless, but this is a game where you have this like 3D little arena, a little plastic arena.
It's
got
in
a little
the box,
kind of
the
little
box itself.
foam thing on the bottom there. And basically have these dice. Everyone gets an equal amount of dice. And these dice are just normal D6s, except for the one. Instead of a 1, there's an X there. And then basically what you're doing is on your turn, you're going to take one of your die and you're going to throw it into the arena. And you're basically, 2 gladiators are hitting. It's very thematic. And then basically you're throwing your dice in the arena, and then if any sets come up, so like basically they're all going to smack and roll around in there, and if you have like two twos, for example, you would then take out any sets you have, any pairs, any threes, triples, anything like that, and then it move on to the next person. Basically what you want to do is you want to be the only one with dice at the end of the game.
Correct.
If you ever run out of dice, you lose. And so, or if you ever roll one in there, if any X's come up, those gladiators perish. And so they're gone. And so you can choose when to stop. So if you haven't rolled any sets or anything like that, you can be like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to move on to the next person. Which I'm like, no, just keep going. It's great. But if you ever get to the point where, say there's only 2 dice and their Mike rolls and 3 threes come up, he takes all the threes, and then the arena is empty, you then have to take all of your dice and roll them into the arena. And sometimes you'll have like 10 dice and you don't roll any sets.
It can go very
actually, I think that's impossible.
You roll a bunch of X's, like it can be very bad.
It can be very, very bad. And so it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you have this situation where you have to roll them all, and it's fun, it's silly, it's exciting. You're just throwing dice in this thing. It's an infinite amount of fun. It's one of those games where I always say, if you can't have fun playing Strike,
come on,
don't play board games. Do something else. Like it's just meant to be silly fun, and it's so good.
I like that they give you the one decision point of like, if I roll, you roll 1 die at a time. If I roll 1 in, I don't get any pairs or sets. You can choose to stop, or you can roll another die.
Yeah,
that's all the decision you need. It's literally plenty of choice. And then the rest is just silly fun. You can barely control what's happening, and that in the best way.
In the best possible way. Strike's amazing. I love Strike. I'll always love Strike. It's in my top 100. No shame on my end. Love it. Let's get number 95. Number 95 is another one by Praise B.
Praise be
to he. This is going to be Llama Land. This is one of his newer games. Talk about, it's kind of in this, Phil Walker Harding likes to borrow from himself a lot with his games, where a lot of his games will have elements from his other games. This has got kind of a bit of Barren Park and a bit of Gingerbread House in it, where you have these polyomino tiles and you're kind of building up like Machu Picchu and stuff like that. And then basically whatever you cover up on your boards there, that's what you're going to get.
You might get resources. You might be able to recruit a character.
Exactly. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get these resources, get like potatoes and corns and cocoa. And you can then turn those in to get these llamas. And so you're putting these tiles out, getting these resources. You also get different villagers, which will give you like special powers where it's like once per turn you can turn like 1 cocoa into like 2 corn or something like that. Kind of exchanging stuff, little things here and there. And then basically what you're doing is once you have a certain amount of corn or something like that, you can then get a llama that wants corn. And then you have to take a little llama meeple and put it somewhere in your kind of area of tiles.
It has to be touching grass.
Has to be touching grass. The problem is once you put it there, that llama is there. You can no longer build on top of that llama. So then as you're putting these llamas out on your board, you're then kind of having to build around them. So you have to be strategic about how you want to do that. And the llamas will go, the quicker you get to them, the more points you'll get because there's more points on the cards that are on the top, right?
Bit of a race element.
And then there's a couple different objectives that you can go for, and the objectives are all over the place in terms of like having 4 llamas on level 4 or higher in your thing, just all over the place. And it's just really, really fun. It's definitely thinkier for a Phil Walker Harding game. It's still very family weight kind of thing, but it's
pretty
family plus.
puzzly. Yeah, it's pretty puzzly.
It's just really, really good. Real chunky pieces, great production value, and it's just, again, it takes Phil Walker Harding taking the best from other Phil Walker Harding games and making it into a really good game. I really like Llama Land a lot. I think it's outstanding.
Yeah, really solid production, chunky tiles.
Yeah, it's just really, really good all the way around. And that's my number 95, which is Llama Land.
Very cool. My number 95 is, it's not a trick-taking game, but it really seems like one because it functions in similar ways, but doesn't function by following the same typical rules of a trick-taking game. This is Tidal Blade's Banner Festival.
I was like, what are you talking about? Yes, you're right.
This is a card game set in the world of Tidal Blades, which is a really fun kind of water world with these like fish folk and crocodile people that are all doing like American Gladiator challenges, but also fighting monsters that are kind of coming into the world. And this is a card game set in that world where you are sort of representing merchants that are selling things at these, in the stands as people come to watch these events that are going on with the Tidal Blades.
Hot meat on a stick here. Yeah. Hot meat on a stick.
So all of the cards you're playing are these different types of merch that you're trying to sell. And where it kind of becomes trick-taking-y is that every turn, every round, you're playing a card out. And there's going to be a suit that is the most valuable. In this case, it might be blue, and that's going to be based around where this little trade gate is.
Yeah.
Blue might be the strongest suit, and then there'll be the 3 suits. The other suits will be in descending order from most valuable to least valuable.
Yeah.
But if it's not a thing where someone leads with a card and then you must follow suit or something,
you can play
it's a
whatever you want.
simultaneous reveal of cards. You can play any suit at any time, and there's going to be times where you want to have the most popular, the most valuable color, and the highest number because you want to win and be able to move your little jet ski around the board. And as you do laps like that, you get to play out your character cards, which give you powers and points. If you have one of the middle cards, one of the middle most valuable cards, you get to put out your little discs on these little docks and stuff, which is kind of like an area control and get some bonusy elements, influence area. And if you lose, you have the least valuable card, all the cards have a power on them. But you only get to use that power if your card played is the least valuable. So it's either lowest suit, or if you all have the same suit, the lowest number. There's different ways to break those ties and stuff. And so the kind of push and pull of like, I really want to lose this hand, I really want to win this hand, or I don't want either of those things, is really fun to try to put together.
There's never a bad outcome.
You'll always do something productive. It's just like, is it what you're hoping gets done? But you're never going to have a turn where nothing good happens. There's going to be some, but it's like you're trying to accomplish specific goals. I really want to get on this dock place because I really want to get this out. I'm trying to get some of these star fruits and stuff. A feast is coming. I want to have the most star fruit when that happens. There's a lot of those fun decisions, and it feels trick-taking-y because of the suits, the kind of values of stuff, but the whole like simultaneous reveal is not a trick-taking game, but it feels trick-taking.
It does feel like a trick-taking game,
and it's a beautiful kind of small production, but colorful and vibrant.
Of course, it's Tidal Blades. Yeah, I like it. Didn't quite make my list. I think if we had gotten a chance to play it a couple more times, I think it probably would have.
Yeah, it's so
we've
fun.
only played it a couple times. I really, really like it. I think it's so enjoyable, and I like the fact that like, I enjoy games, especially trick-taking games, where you don't always want to win. It's one of the reasons why I like the crew so much is because sometimes you're like, oh no, I need to lose this trick.
It's one of the best things in the
I think it makes it so much more interesting. And this one, the fact that like even if you don't get what you want to happen, you're still like, well, I still get this thing. So okay, and it might not be what you want, but it's like there's no bad stuff. The powers are interesting. It's just really, really good.
Yeah. It's such a fun game. That's my number 95, Tidal Blades Banner Festival.
Let's get number 94.
My number 94 is a engine building auction game that plays pretty fast, and it's kind of one that we haven't always had success with, like fast engine builders. This is Furnace.
Oh yeah,
so
I do like Furnace.
This is a game where you are in the birthplace of an industry, the Industrial Revolution, when it was sexy and cool before we realized it was killing the planet. Back in the nice days, where we are sort of these tycoons and we're trying to build up production in oil and steel and coal and things like that. We're trying to build up industries. And you're going to do that by claiming these cards, which will then give you ways to basically shuffle resources around from one resource to the other. And you're ultimately trying to sell that because you want to have the most money. You want to win by having the most money because that is success life in the world we live in. Okay.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. We love it. So the thing that makes this game work really well is if it was just like a game where you get some cards and you build out your little engine and you have to sequence your stuff and turn this into coal and turn that into steel and get some oil and sell that oil, that'd be fine.
It'd be fine.
But the way that you get the cards is really, really fascinating.
Yeah.
Because all the cards will have a little bottom half, which is the action they can do, and a little top half, which will show a resource.
Just something to get.
Or something you can get, all right? And that's a compensation for not getting the card.
Yeah.
And you have these discs 1 through 4, and you're going to place them all out one at a time, going around and around. And the way it works is you cannot put down the same number on a card if it's already down there. So if there's a 4 on a card, someone else cannot play there 4. It has to be a unique number. And the discs are kind of at varying sizes, so it makes it easy to tell kind of what's been placed. And the way it works is if you have the highest bid, you get to claim that card.
Yep.
Anyone else that's bid on that but did not win gets what's on the top of the card multiplied by the value of that disc.
Yeah.
So if I really need some steel, Nick put down a 4 on this card, I'm going to put down my 3 because if it shows 2 steel on top, I'm going to get 6 steel, which is just going to fuel my engine. So you get into all this meta game where you're like, I do not want this card.
Yeah.
I want to just barely miss getting it so I can get the most out of that compensation from
and
the
sometimes
top.
no one outbids you and you're like, I didn't want that card. I didn't need this card. And you just feel like you wasted your disc.
That's a waste. Yeah. And I think that is so fun. The sort of anti-bid is so cool to me because we're not big into auction games. We don't mind them and stuff, but it's not our go-to. This is really fun. Yeah. It's a really fun thing because resources are kind of tight sometimes, so you really sometimes just need the resources that are on this card and you desperately don't want the card because you're not going to have use for it. I have nothing to do with oil. I can't sell it. I can't produce it. I don't want it. I really am doing a coal thing right here. So
I got a coal engine.
So that whole thing is really fun. The whole kind of like, when do you put your discs down?
It makes the game better because if it was just the engine building, it would have been fine, but this adds enough intrigue that just makes it really, really fun.
And then after you do that kind of auction thing, you get your cards, you get your resources and all that jazz, and then you get to run your little engines. Each card can be used once. You might have a token that allows you to reuse a card, a second time. And you're going to do that to produce your resources, sell those resources for money, all kind of what is provided on your card. There's like little player power, so everyone has a unique thing they can do. Like one person has one extra disc that no one else has. They're all kind of game-breaking in a nice little way. But the whole thing goes by quick and easy. And you get a fun build-up, and there's enough of that engine building, enough of that fun auction stuff, and it's over in like an hour. It just is a really satisfying, fun game. That was an expansion which I want to get, because I think this one, for us, could use a little new blood into it. We've seen the cards at this point, but
it did make my list, I think, because of that. It's like we kind of played it a bunch when we first got it.
We played it a lot when we got it.
And I'm kind of like, okay, I'm kind of cool off it. But yeah, an expansion would probably help that out a little bit.
Yeah, but it's just such a cool thing with the auction.
Yeah, it's great.
I think it's awesome.
My number 94 is a game that I think probably, honestly, I think would not have made my list if I hadn't been playing it more recently, and that is Legendary, a Marvel deck building game.
Yeah, you're back in.
Yeah, I kind of am back in. I started soloing this game while Mike was out on paternity leave because I had to do a lot of solo streams, and so I ended up just kind of playing this game a decent amount on live streams, and I kind of rediscovered my love for it. This is a game that we've had for a while. We have a whole bunch of content for it, although at this point it's like not even half the content that's out for this game. But nonetheless, this is a pure deck building game where you're going to be taking 5 heroes. Could be like Wolverine and Iron Man and like, I almost said Catwoman, not Catwoman, like Storm, or, you know, just any kind of Marvel, X-Men. Literally everyone's in this game. And you're taking 5 heroes. Each hero has their own unique deck, and you're just mashing them all up into one big deck, and you're going to be going against a mastermind, some big villain, and they're going to have some villain groups that come with them, a bunch of cards. And then basically on your turn, you'll be drawing out a villain out into the normal kind of the villain row, and then you'll be playing out your cards, and you can attack and you can recruit. That's mostly what you're doing. You can attack stuff that's up in the villain row, the different villains, or you can attack the mastermind, but the mastermind tends to have a much higher attack level, like 12 or 13. They're very hard to hit.
You gotta build up a bit first.
Yeah, you have to build up a bit. And then you can recruit more heroes. And then on top of that, there's all these other special things. And then the cards are all different colors, which is like there's superpowers for that card. And so if you play like a green card and then another green card, if that other green card has a little superpower ability, you then get to use it. And so you can just put together these really cool combos and just kind of do deck building fun stuff where you're just playing out all these cards, doing these crazy turns. And it's just so much fun. And we have so much content for it that we would just play over and over and over. It's still our most played game because we would play it a couple times a week. Every time we'd play it probably 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And then we did that for about a year.
We did that for a long time.
A long time. It was so many games. And there's so many heroes, you just kind of mix them up randomly. Like, I'm going to choose this random hero, this random hero, this random hero.
We love to just use randomizers and be like, what strange combos can we get? And can we take down whatever mastermind
Because there's we have over 100 heroes. There's like 50-something masterminds. There's like 30 different villain groups. The amount of combinations you can make are literally just quadrillions of them, different combinations. Yeah. So it's like you'll never play through all of it. You'll never play any similar situation. It's great. I love it so much. It's one of those things where like every once in a while I'm like, we should get more. And I'm like, we shouldn't get more. We already have way too much of it. But nonetheless, I still love Legendary Marvel, and it's really, really fun to solo. And I've been playing it a little bit more often, which has been really, really fun. But that is my number 94.
All right.
I think it's number 93. Number 93, right?
I don't know. Is that? Yeah, 94s. I got confused.
Did you number it?
No, I did my 94. That was fun.
Okay, cool.
I just got confused.
Let's go to
Don't mind me.
My number 93 is a game we actually haven't played in a while, but every time we play it, I'm always just like, this game is so good, and it's just got a place in my heart, and that is Kanagawa. Kanagawa is a game that...
Wow, respect, dude.
It's been a while, and I love me some Kanagawa.
It's a really good one.
It's a very unique game. It feels very unique. It doesn't play like anything else. This is a game where you are traditional painters, and you're painting out a very a long kind of panorama.
Landscape,
yeah. Yeah, a big landscape kind of panorama. Yeah. And you're in like a Japanese school for art, basically. Is that what you do? You're like students. And it's got an interesting way of drafting cards where there is this really cool like bamboo board, which is like unnecessary but really cool.
It's like one of the cooler game components.
Really
we got
nice.
that really early in our hobby. It still
really
holds
cool.
up as like a really cool piece.
And so you basically will put cards out on this bamboo board. You'll put out the first row of cards, and then you'll go around starting with the first player and say, do you want to take a column of cards?
You're only ever drafting a column.
There's no other cards in this column. There's only one. But if it's a card you really, really want, you might be like, okay, I'm going to take this column. And then whoever doesn't take a column, then you'll put out cards in the next row. And then now there's 2 cards. And then you go back around, and anyone who hasn't taken one yet can choose to take a column. And then if people don't, you can put cards into a final 3rd row, and then you have to take one of the columns. And so it's this kind of like push and pull of being like, because it's all set collection. You want certain things in your panorama. You want certain characters. You want certain elements like trees or different buildings. You want like different animals, seasons in them. And so sometimes you're like, to get this really, really high value set, I need that one, but it's only one card. Do I take it now? Or do I wait and like, I'm the 3rd player, do I risk someone else taking it before me?
And then moreover, certain cards are face down. So you'll know the category that this is a tree card, but you have no idea what's on the other side. So it's like, do you take a blind card? Like, I think it's going to be good enough.
It's a really tough decision, and it's really, really fun. That kind of, please don't take, please. I waited, I probably shouldn't have waited, but please don't take it.
A little bit of push your luck with that, yeah.
And then when you get the cards, you can either add them to your panorama, or you can flip them around and add them essentially to your skills. And your skills allow you to paint certain things, paint certain landscapes, can give you a whole bunch of different stuff, like more kind of painters, so you can add more to it. And it's really, really good. And then the diploma system, which is how you get your points, that's what you're collecting sets for, has got kind of a you can't go back system. So basically, like say there's like 3 of them for trees. The first one, you will get a certain amount of points if you have like 2 trees in your panorama. And you can pass that up. But once you pass it up, you can't go back and
Can't
get
change
that
your
one.
mind.
And the next one is to have like 3 or 4, and the next one's to have like 5 or something like that. So the thing is if I pass that one up and then Mike takes the next one, I then can't go back and get it. So there's also this push and pull of like, do I think I can get like another 2
get to the
trees to
top
get there?
level? Yeah.
It's just there's so many tough decisions mixed with a really cool drafting situation. It's also very, very pretty. It's just really, really, really good. And I kind of feel like no one ever talks about it. Katagawa is great. Try Katagawa. It's awesome.
It is a really good Bruno Catala game. Beautiful, and yeah, the way you build up your little studio and your skills to allow
so
you to
good.
paint certain landscapes is cool. And
It's
then,
great.
Yeah, again, the set collection, the seasons thing. There's a lot of fun little things to consider, but it's all in a fairly easy to digest package.
It's awesome.
My number 93 is Time's Up Title Recall. There's different versions of Time's Up.
Interesting.
It's a party game, a classic
party
kind of
game.
party game. Title Recall is
You just
focuses
like
on
this 'cause you're very good at this game.
yeah, honestly. It's a game that focuses on Title Recall focuses on like movie and TV and stuff like
Movie,
that. So
TV,
like
books, that kind
those
of
are things
stuff.
that we typically know pretty
Entertainment
well.
stuff, right, yeah.
Entertainment stuff, and it's a party game where you're going to be going around. You're going to be partnered up with one other person. You can have multiple people around the table, and everyone will be paired up. And you're going to have these kind of stack of clues, and you have multiple rounds you go through. And in the first round, you can just talk about whatever is on that card. You just can't say, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. They'll be like, is it Arnold Schwarzenegger? You'll be like, yes, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I just said that. You can say
Wow.
like, hey, he plays the Terminator.
Our minds.
Yeah. You can say like, hey, he plays the Terminator and this and that. Oh, is it Arnold Schwarzenegger? Yes. And you're trying to get as many of those down in like 30 seconds as you can. Whatever's left over gets passed around. You do that until all those cards have been seen. Once that happens, you now have your set amount of cards that are going to get used for the game. The rest of the game, you're never going to put in new clues. So what you'll do is you'll review quickly. Okay, these are the things that everyone got. So everyone got these things. This is our set here, and you get points for every one you get correct. Then once you review, you go into the round again where you have now the kind of closed stack of cards, of clues, and you're going to go through. But this time around, you can only give one-word clues.
One word.
And so you're like,
Sounds
okay.
like Terminator.
Terminator came. Okay, we were talking about Terminator. Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger? Yes. And you go around, you can only give these one-word clues. And that's what's really fun is that then a meta starts to arrive in this game, and it always does it, where there's
Every single
inside
game.
jokes that come up about the way that this one person fell apart. We had a game recently where we mixed up the Jeffersons and the Jetsons.
Yes.
I think
It was supposed to be the Jetsons.
It was supposed to be the Jetsons, but they're talking about like, move to an apartment on the east side.
Moving on up. You're like the
What?
Jeffersons?
So that became a joke. Where then in that second round, someone said Jeffersons. You're like Jetsons. That clearly
Because
means
there's an inside joke at that point.
you know. And then so you go through it again. Now you can only do one word, and then you have some more familiarity, and then you go through again where you're doing charades or you can like hum stuff. And so now you have even less Jetsons.
Yeah,
and then,
exactly.
And so like that becomes something that we're laughing about over and over and over
Yes.
again because now we all have the same frame of reference for this one clue, even if it's completely wrong. And that is such a fun thing.
Because
It
that
is
kind
so
of that
fun.
inside joke metagame happens in every single play.
100%.
Every single one. There's some kind of inside reference metagame that happens that persists for that game and then goes away forever.
Yeah, it only exists within that one play of the game, and it's such a juicy, wonderful thing
It's
that you will
astonishing,
laugh
yeah.
about and joke about through time.
Yeah.
So Time's Up. This is a game you can literally take by just writing stuff on paper and putting it into a fishbowl. It's a classic party game that now has like a little bit of a theme around it. Time's Up Title Recall is so fun. I will play this anytime.
Yeah, it's great.
Such a fun
It's one of the
party
best party
game.
games ever. It is.
Yeah, so that's
Didn't make my list,
number-
but it's very good.
Yeah, it's my number 93, Time's Up Title Recall.
All right, let's get number 92.
My number 92 is all about cute critters making constructions and things underneath a giant tree, the Evertree. This is Everdell,
Indeed.
number 92.
All right.
This is a classic, I feel like, took card play and worker placement stuff and started smashing them together. Now it's a very common thing about
It does
deck building.
feel like
this isn't
it,
a
right?
deck building game, but it's kind of that same idea of like worker placement, card play, working those things together in a fun way. So in this game, you are different critters, and you're kind of going through a year preparing for the upcoming winter. So you start off in spring, you go through summer, then fall, and you're trying to get as many things kind of done as you can as you build up your part of the town of Everdell. So in this game, resources are kind of limited, so you can use your little workers to go to certain worker spots to get like berries and stuff, which will help you recruit characters, or critters for that matter. Or you can get like supplies like wood and stone and things to build different constructions. And this game comes very much down to how much can you stretch out one
You're trying to do as much in that round as you possibly can.
As humanly possible. So you're trying to use these meager amount of resources to get a construction built, which might then produce a resource for you. It might be a one-time boon that you get, which might help you do another thing on your turn. So you're really trying to kick things down the line and really stretch out the year as much as you can. But what's really fun is that you have all these constructions that are always going to be paired with a specific critter. And if any time you have that construction built and you have that critter, you can play that critter down for free.
Yeah,
because they belong as this paired set and they come with their own abilities. Basically, the cards will come down to the variety of green buildings, which will produce twice a year. They'll produce various resources. You have these red buildings, which provide worker placement spots for you. There's gray buildings and critters, for this matter, that are kind of like one-time boons. There's blue ones that give you ways to break the rules. And then there's purple, which are endgame scoring points. So it's all about figuring out, like, what critters do I want to put with what constructions? How do I want to build this? And it's a really just fun one that rewards you the more you kind of play it and know it, because you can really figure out how to stretch that year out. So it's just a really fun one. We don't play it very often anymore, but we got a lot of saxifaction out of that game.
It's good. Yeah, I've cooled on it pretty significantly, honestly. Yeah, it's not my top 100.
Okay.
And I don't know. I think we just played it, and I was kind of done with it at that point. Honestly, I've cooled on it a lot. I'm still down to play it. Of course, I still really like it. I love the system. I just think a lot of times it ends up being just a little bit more complicated than it kind of needs
definitely
to be.
Isn't as the theme is kind of deceptive.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh my gosh, it's so cute and stuff. You're like, if you play this game and it's your first time and you play against someone who knows this game, they're going to crush you at this game, because they just know how to like eke out those resources better.
Yeah, it's so good though.
So I think that's something that like. I say that's a knock that you could give the game.
Yeah.
However, it's still really fun. There's squishy little berries, great resources and stuff. Now there's like the complete edition, crazy big box.
Bonkers, yeah.
There's a lot to explore now. We haven't played most of the expansions.
Maybe with some more expansions, maybe my
Pearlbrook was a disappointment, but I've heard better things about other expansions.
Yeah. Nonetheless, that's number 92 for you, right? All right, my number 92 is Hallertau. This is a game that I think will probably climb higher. This is another big box Uwe Rosenberg game.
Yeah.
There's going to be a couple more. And so Hallertau is a great game. I think of the kind of big box, like the Agricolas, Caverna, Feast for Odin, these kind of bigger ones. I actually think Hallertau is one of the more accessible ones.
Yeah.
And basically, it's kind of like worker placement. You're going to have a certain amount of workers, and you're putting them out on these different spots. And it's nice because the spots aren't really blocked. Basically, the first one to go to a spot will have to put one of their little worker cubes down. And if someone else wants to go there, they have to put down 2, and then 3, and then it's blocked. And so there is a limited amount. And you're essentially getting different stuff. You're getting different resources. You have a little farm board, and you're planting kind of like crop plots. You're putting crops in there. And then at the end of the round, wherever they are, the crop is either on 1 to 5, that crop will just go straight over. So if it's on the 5 spot, you're going to get 5 like grain or whatever. And then basically after the whole worker placement spot is done and you kind of harvest all your fields will degrade because you've used up some of the resources.
The soil needs to be replenished.
And then you basically are going to turn in these various resources to essentially move these different, I guess, industries around. There's like a bakery, it's theme stuff. There's like a bakery and like a butcher and kind of stuff like that. So you have to turn in a certain amount of like milk and meat to move the butcher over. And then basically as you move these little buildings over, your kind of main house will move over as well. And then what that'll do is it'll give you more workers. And then if you move them over enough, you will start to reveal points, essentially. You can get a lot of points by doing that.
70 odd points or something.
And there's also these cards that you can play, and that's one thing I really like about the game is you can get these really strong engines going, because sometimes there's cards will give you something right away, and then other ones though during the third phase of the round you will then trigger all of those cards and they'll give you different resources, allow you to do different stuff. There's just a lot of stuff going on. Some of them are like end game scoring. They're all just really, really fun, and in typical Uwe fashion, each deck of cards, there's 4 different ones, has like 3 different decks you can use, and they all have like 100 cards in them. So I'm like,
there's
so many different options. You can just play this game forever. I really, really like it. I also think it looks really pretty. I think it's a really pretty looking game.
It's really green and lush, kind of.
It's just very nice.
Yeah.
I really like it. I think it's more accessible of kind of these big Uwe games. I think it's really good. I think it's going to climb higher. It's still relatively new for us. We played it a number of times, but I think as we play it and get better at it, I'll probably like it.
I can see it being one that we pull off the shelf more often than a lot of the other ones.
Yes.
Just because it's a little bit
It's just
less
easier.
setup, it's
Yeah,
a little bit
it's-
easier.
Every time we pull Caverna, I'm always like, whew, okay, we're gonna do this, right? Feast for
Yeah.
Odin's the same way. This one's more, you can kind of do it more casually.
yeah,
Yeah,
this
so
and the
Hallertau-
Hob, I think, will become like the really played ones.
Yeah. Hallertau's my number 92. Let's get number 91, last one of this list. Ooh. Number 91 is a big box Uwe game. It is Caverna. I mentioned it multiple times. I forgot Caverna was next. These two are right neck and neck.
You were doing some foreshadowing.
I really like Caverna. Caverna is
Yeah.
a game we honestly, of the big box Uwe games, we play by far the least.
Yes.
By far the least.
It feels like so much to set up. Like,
It does.
and not saying we own Feast for Odin,
Which
as
is not
well.
less.
We have some really cool 3D inserts for Feast for Odin, which
That's
makes our life
true.
a lot easier. But Caverna feels like a beast to
It
set
feels
up.
like a beast,
It's
yes.
also, it's just a lot.
It's a lot.
it's
It's
in
a
a
lot.
good way, but yeah.
But this is a big Uwe Rosenberg worker placement
Dwarf,
game.
worker,
Dwarf,
farmer, cave divers.
This is kind of the spiritual successor of Agricola, which we've actually never played, so that's not going to show up on either of our lists. But this is a game where you have thematic disc workers, and you are going to be placing all these different worker placement spots. One thing that's nice about Caverna is if you're teaching someone new, it's actually kind of nice because the worker placement spots get revealed as the game goes on.
Correct.
So you don't have to teach everything.
Yeah, you start with like 6 or 7 to start the game.
Yeah, and then by the end you'll have like 12 or something like that, or yeah, maybe a little bit more. But so that's actually really, really nice.
Yeah.
But basically you're placing it on these spots, you're going to be getting different resources, you're going to be turning those resources into other stuff. You're going to be adventuring with your dwarves, which will give them stronger like armor, whatever it is and stuff. You're getting buildings.
Experience,
Yeah, you're getting buildings that you will put into your cave. You're getting like farming areas that you'll put outside of your cave into kind of like the cleared forest area. There's so many different things to do. There's so many buildings, so many areas to explore. And one that's really nice about it is this is a game, I feel like the same way about Feast for Odin, where it's kind of like you can kind of just choose to do something.
Yeah.
And just like it's pretty much always a viable thing. You'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna be like a pig farmer. I'm just gonna get a ton of pigs and get a whole bunch of this kind of
Pigs
stuff.
are points.
And I'm just gonna bam, bam, and just go like that. And you really can do that in this game. You can kind of just choose a path, go for it, and they're all pretty darn viable.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really fun. I like Caverna a lot. This is
Yeah.
a game that, like, again, I think we'll always end up playing less than other big box Uwe games.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily like it less than a lot of them. you know?
I fully agree. It's really great. It's really fantastic.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to get to the table. We do have the expansion, which we haven't played.
We haven't played that
which gives like
expansion,
asymmetric player powers. We gotta try that because that might
we need to try that like soon.
boost
yes,
that.
yeah, we need to try. I forgot we had that expansion.
Yeah, it's a
that's
beast
right.
of a game. It's kind of like Agricola in that, like, yeah, you can kind of focus on stuff, but you kind of need to do a lot of stuff because there's a lot of negative points to be had
There
if you
is.
don't kind of fill in.
And you have like feed your people, so there's
Feed
a lot
your
of you have to
people.
focus on that.
But it's a
bit.
little bit easier, I feel like, from what we've heard, to get done than maybe in Agricola. It's a really fun one. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, I think there's other Uwe games that are going to be slotted in higher than that. You'll literally see that in some cases. But man, it doesn't
Many
detract from what Caverna is.
No, not
it's
at all.
so cool.
I had
It's so,
3
so
Uves
cool.
in this 10, I just realized.
Dang, man, all Uwe all day.
All right, what's your number 91?
My number 91 is an Alexander Pfister game called Boone Lake. Now, I think we're a little bit on an island in liking this game.
It sure feels like it.
It's we can admit some of the flaws with it, but it's a really fun game where you are doing this kind of card play as you discover this area, this Boone Lake area, these 4 regions, these uninhabited regions. You're building out, exploring by putting out tiles and stuff, then you're building out little houses and
Settlements
and cattle pastures and stuff like that onto the board. And you're playing out a bunch of cards, which will kind of bump you up these like industry tracks to give you money and cards to play more cards. All the cards are worth points. Some cards will give you in-game abilities that will give you discounts on things. There might give you bonuses if you land here while you're moving down this river.
so
A whole bunch of stuff. Instant effects, end-game scoring. And it's just one that we really enjoy, like putting out a bunch of these cards, stretching our money as much as we can, going for these different goals and exploring the lands. Now, some people have faulted it for saying that, like, kind of what you're doing at the beginning of the game is also what you're doing at the end of the game. There's not like a great arc. I do think that's true.
That's fair.
But I like what I'm doing in the game, so I don't really
It doesn't
care.
bother me at all. It's a little too long. That's the main thing.
It's
I
a
can
little
honestly
long.
say.
Because what's really fun is on your turn, you'll choose an action, like I'm going to put out a cattle pasture and then put down my cattle. But if I choose the action, in most cases, people all get to also do a follow version of that action. So that's where the time comes into play. Because even at 2-player, this is like a 2-hour game.
Yeah, it's long.
At 4-player, this is like a 5-hour game because I'm doing the cattle thing, but then Nick's doing it, and Mary's doing it, and Pippin's doing it. And it's slow, maybe because our dogs are playing the game.
It's true.
But that doesn't matter. And so, like, and that's for every action. And you can kind of race down the river, which times out the game. But Nick and I enjoy what we're doing, so we kind of slow play the river.
Yeah.
We could probably play that quicker.
Probably.
But it's going to be a long game. So it's for us, I'm like, I might do a 3-player game if I'm going to be like, luxurious in the afternoon and take
Even then, I don't know
time.
if I
But
want to.
really, it's like I'm playing this solo or 2-player max.
Yeah.
And so again, all of those things that people have kind of have criticized, I think are fair.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy the stuff we're doing in it anyway. I love the card play. I like that you can get multiple sets of the same endgame scoring thing. So now my cattle are very valuable at the end of the game. There's all these like lever systems to make stuff cheaper, and the way that whole works. There's really fun stuff. The way you produce resources, you're not actually getting physical resources, but you have these canoes and these little industries on your board that produce those resources. It's really fun. I think the arc and some of the balancing things and making it a little shorter could have been better, but I still really like Boon Lake. I think it's really fun. I think it looks nice. I appreciate that you're just going around uninhabited islands and they make a point of saying like this land is, you're not taking it from other people.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's just there.
Thank you for that. That's all you gotta say is like, there's no one who lives here. I'm like, great, dig it up, build stuff. That's fine.
Cool,
Go
whatever.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. Blue Lake's awesome.
It's really fun. Boon Lake is really, really fun. Even with all the critiques where it's like,
I don't mind
"Those are
the
accurate."
flaws at all.
I
It
can
doesn't
see
bother
those
me.
flaws and I just look right past them.
Don't care at all. That is it. That's
it.
our first 10 right there. That is 100 to 91. We got 9 more videos to go. They're going to be staggered out over the next number of weeks here. So make sure to keep an eye out. Like and subscribe if you haven't already.
Yeah, check out our Patreon. You'll probably see our patrons scrolling by here and stuff. But we really appreciate it. Yeah, if you're enjoying this top 100, please thumb it up and leave a comment of some of the games that you would put your 90 to 100. It really helps the videos
Make your
get
top
seen by
100
people.
along with us.
Do it! Oh my gosh, do it, please. That'd be so fun if we can go along.
That'd be cool.
I would love
cool.
to see those.
Yeah.
Please do that.
That'd be rad. And make sure to check out Tabletop Alliance. We'll be
Yes.
talking about it more throughout this whole thing.
You'll
but
hear about it.
Really, really appreciate y'all being here. And I think that's it. My name's Nick.
I'm Mike.
We're the Brothers Murph, and we'll see you later, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching that first episode of our Top 100. Oh my stars, I can't believe we're doing it again. Make sure to check out Tabletop Alliance. And again, if you have a couple dollars, please make sure to hit that donate button and give them to Tabletop Alliance because it's a really cool thing. Also, make sure to check out our channel sponsors, Restoration Games, Lucky Duck Games, and Board Game Geek. And our month of November is sponsored by Board Game Anonymous. Board Game Anonymous, do you have problems with board games? Do you lick meeples too much? Well, then call Board Game Anonymous, 1-800-555-5559.